Dallas Stars hockey is nearly back, and we have the latest Stars updates from this week at practice. We'll discuss Robert Tiffin's wonderful article with Tyler Seguin and a Four Nations finale tonight in Boston.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome to a Thursday edition of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And the Dallas Stars are getting prepared for action once again against the New Jersey Devils on the weekend. We'll give you the latest Stars updates, including defenseman Ilya Lybushkin. We have some different visors going on as well between Mason Marchment and Matt Duchene. I also want to touch on Robert Tiffin's exquisite article with Tyler Seguin. I want to share some excerpts from that because Tyler, of course, has been in Dallas for over a decade now and has meant a lot to the Stars organization. There's some wonderful things in there. And of course, I encourage you to read it in its entirety on D Magazine. But we also have the Four Nations finale, Team USA versus Team Canada. It's going to be an absolute blast. This is very, very highly anticipated and cannot wait to take in this one here tonight in Boston. So a lot to get into. So let's jump into it. I do want to apologize for the audio today. To make a long story short, I flew into Dallas, was supposed to get on a connection to Corpus Christi, and that flight was canceled. So now I'm in DFW, and of course I checked my bag. And as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, I do not have my mic or anything. But by Friday, I should have my mic back in my hands, and we should be good to go. So please roll with me on the punches, as it's been a bit of a crazy travel experience the last 48 hours. And some Stars have dealt with that too. Mason Marchment, Matt Duchene did not get back until I think yesterday. They practiced today. I'm recording this on a Wednesday. So they were at practice after having some difficulties in Toronto getting back. Matt Dumba, by the way, was skating, and he was finally wearing a visor. As we know, Dumba has been wearing the bubble recently. So has Mason Marchment. He's still within the bubble after still sort of recovering from surgery and all that good stuff that happened as he took a puck in the face. Not all the Stars are back. Of course, the Four Nations face-off participants are not back, including Jake Ottinger, as well as Rope, Granlund, and Esa Lindell. So none of the Team Finland representatives from the Dallas Stars are back at practice. But Ilya Lybushkin, if you do recall, he did not play in the final two games of that West Coast road trip heading into the Four Nations break. He had left early in that game on Tuesday against Anaheim, and we didn't get a great update or really any clarification on what happened. If you recall, that Tuesday night game against the Ducks was on ESPN, and all they showed was a video of him walking off the bench. There was nothing really that I saw that indicated it was either an upper body or lower body injury, but he is skating, and I did say heading into the break, I have a feeling it's more precautionary, and hopefully that is what it was. He got a couple of weeks off to rest now during this break, and it looks like all things are trending to him being back in the lineup on Saturday against New Jersey, which of course is big at this point with all the injuries the Stars are already dealing with during the course of this season. And they're already without Miro Heiskanen. Harley's playing a bunch. Esa Lindell is playing a bunch. He just played 25 plus minutes a night with Team Finland during the Four Nations face-off. So they need all the able bodies possible to give some guys some rest and to give Pete DeBoer a lineup that has some guys that can just chew up minutes. Speaking of chewing up minutes, and someone that has gotten a real bump in ice time since Miro Heiskanen went down, that's Lian Bichsel. He was loaned back to Texas over the break. I thought we were going to see him play. I don't believe he got into a game at all with the Texas Stars. He was recalled, of course, this week, which comes to nobody's surprise. Lian Bichsel is with the Dallas Stars the rest of the year. He's going to play big minutes, in my opinion, and he's only going to have a more increasing role in Dallas the rest of the way. And we discussed this with Ryan Chambers the other day. Be sure to check out that episode of Locked On Stars as well. It went for about 45 minutes, and it's always a blast catching up with him. And I mentioned that I think if the Dallas Stars are going to win the Stanley Cup this season, it will be with the help of Lian Bichsel, and Bichsel playing big minutes come the postseason time. I sort of compared it to what we saw with Harley a few years ago in that playoff run when he came in at the end of the season, played 6 games, and then boom, he jumped in, and the Stars, of course, make the Western Conference Final. But I don't believe either that Lian Bichsel is going to have to almost be sheltered or they have to put him with a security blanket, so to speak, in the postseason, where when Harley came up, he was playing with Hanley, who, of course, was just a real steady defenseman, and they did an excellent job. They didn't play they weren't ones that always stood out to you in the game, but they weren't making a ton of mistakes where you were talking about them a ton coming out of each and every game. Bichsel, I think, can play a much bigger role than Harley was a few years ago. I just think with Bichsel's size and where he's at as a development currently, these last, 20-something games, whatever it is, 15, 25 games left in the season for the Stars, Bichsel is in such a good spot. His foundation is already there that he can play big minutes, and the coaching staff will trust him, and they don't have to necessarily keep the, so to speak, the training wheels on Bichsel the rest of the way. I think he's going to play a massive role in the Dallas Stars decor. Moving forward, hopefully Jim Nill can go out and add a couple of bodies at the deadline, or at least one other defenseman to give Dallas some real quality on the back end. They don't have a ton of quality. They have some quantity. They need some quality. And Bichsel, in my opinion, is a big part of that quality and can prove to be a real difference maker for Dallas the rest of the way. Sometimes you just have to have those young guys that step up and pitch in, whether that's on the score sheet or whether that's with the physicality, whether that's with edge. And Lian Bichsel has brought some of that to the Dallas Stars, and really looking forward to him to continue to grow. And hopefully we see a large improvement of his game here in the final, month and a half of the season. So Lian Bichsel is recalled, which is good. Looks like things are trending for Ilya Lybushkin to be back in the lineup. And we did discuss this too with Ryan, and I thought it was a great point by him. Once Miro comes back at some point, hopefully before the end of the regular season or for game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, I think all roads are leading to Dallas putting Harley and Miro back together. That is just the best 1-2 punch. And that's why if you can go out and add, whether that's a Rasmus Ristolainen, whether it's a Seth Jones, right? Anybody that you can sort of fit in on this right side to give you more stability, you're going to feel really good, I think, about where the Stars are. Because they have been a very solid defensive team this whole season. And we don't necessarily love the personnel Dallas has. I think we like it. Miro and Harley elevate it. They can bring some along with them. And Lybushkin, Lindell are really stout. So if you can just get another guy that can possibly be in your top 4, but really be that 6th defenseman, if you can sort of replace a Cody Ceci, right? Somebody you really can batten down the hatches with and pair them with whether that's Bichsel, maybe Lybushkin. It's going to be real interesting. I think just the whole makeup of this back end moving forward, because it does feel like they want to move Miro and Harley. I think they would like to have them separated ideally, but it just feels like that pairing is going to be so elite for you. Why not put the big boys together on the top pair? And when you have Lindell on that second pair, you have one of the best defensemen in the world, right? And you can either put Lybushkin with him, then you kind of have that Hakanpää Lindell pairing from years past, but I think better, especially at 5-on-5. And you can have Bichsel and then somebody else as your third pair, even with CC, right? Let's just say CC's in the lineup come postseason time. I think that's a pretty decent decor. It's not the deepest it's not the deepest in the West by any stretch, but if the offense does what it's supposed to do and what we think it can be, and the power play is also contributing, Stars can be in a good spot. When fully healthy, of course. And that's a big question. That is a big question. That's the one that looms. Is Seguin going to be back? Are they going to add another Granlund type of acquisition up front? I think the forward group is fine where they are right now. You have a good mix, some young, some veterans, got some elite scorers. I don't think you don't have to go out and add a Brock Nelson. I'm not going to say no to it, because you can always use veterans with some experience and that can score goals for you. We all know where the weakest link is, and that's on the back end. What assets do the Stars have to give up? What are they willing to give up to go out and try to improve the squad? We'll see. Time will tell. But the Stars still are a top 5 defensive team. They don't give up a ton of goals. Jake Ottinger's played really consistent. Casey DeSmith has been great when he's been asked upon. Not better than Wedgwood, I would say, from a year ago, but has been suitable and has been what a backup netminder is supposed to be. Keeps you in most games when he's in the lineup. So there's some of the latest stuff from Stars practice over the last few days. Lybushkin skating, Marchment, and Duchesne as well. They got some different it looks like Duchesne is back to a normal visor. He's wearing sort of that big one, that chunky one, after dealing with a bit of a nose injury, but seems to be okay. And by the way, big shout out to Robert Tiffin, who we're going to get to in just a moment. Tiffin for delivering these updates. He's been at Stars practice, and he's a great follow on Twitter, by the way. So please go follow Robert Tiffin. And speaking of him, he did a article with D Magazine with Tyler Seguin. It's just great stuff. So I wanted to share some of those experts because Robert deserves to have his stuff pumped more and more. And I know many of you Stars fans follow him and love his stuff. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios, one is the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep that feeling of being fuller longer. Pistachios are a wonderful snack. And so wonderful Pistachios is what they're called. It's a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids. No shells, Wonderful Pistachios for that grab and go ease. The satisfying crack of opening each shell. It's like a snack meditation. You can pick them up. It's easy on the go. We're all running around nowadays trying to do some errands while working, and you forget to eat sometimes, and you need a little snack to hold you over, possibly till dinner. You don't want to be eating something unhealthy. Wonderful Pistachios fixes that problem. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Robert Tiffin with D Magazine posted this article earlier this week with Tyler Seguin. He actually spent a night with him in the press box at Anaheim, and there was just some really wonderful stuff, and I'm not going to get to all of it. Please be sure to read it in its entirety. I'm sure many of you have already done so, but for those of you that have not seen it, I wanted to get into some of the details that I found fascinating. There was some conversation between Robert and Tyler about the Luka Doncic trade because it just happened a few days prior, and let's just say Tyler Seguin put it nicely, but I think he was as confused as any Mavericks fan out there about why about why Luka Doncic was traded, but that sort of meandered into a conversation about Jim Nill. And Tyler Seguin said, and I quote here, Seguin said, Jim basically makes him feel really lucky about the front office, how fortunate the Stars are to have the front office that they have. And, he's been here for a while, and he's been here since some of the dark days in the Stars organization in the early 2010s. And he said here's the quote: "The way Jim treats people, I think that's what trickles down. Why it's such a big family and why we see so much success. I was here for the early days, the first year of Jim and Tom Ghilardi, the Stars owner, the new jerseys, having games on a Thursday night and seeing 9,000 people in the stands. And to see where we are now, it's blissful. And isn't that something all Stars fans can say and sort of bask in? It really is remarkable what the Stars have done here over the last few seasons. And they also did it in a really difficult way. For as much praise as Chris Young and the Texas Rangers get for what they did a few years ago, we can be honest about the difference between baseball and hockey and the cap space, or the non-existent cap in Texas. Like in baseball, you go out and you can buy wins. You can buy players and you can buy wins. And this isn't a knock on the Texas Rangers. Chris Young did exactly what you have to do in today's climate to win a World Series. He went out and got two of the best players in the middle of their primes with Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. And he shored up the middle, and then you hit on the Adolis Garcias of the world, and you go out and you spend money to get those pieces so you can win a World Series. Jim Nill did it in the NHL without having to tank, where the Rangers went through, a few seasons of 120-plus lost seasons. I think there was a couple. And then they really turned it around because they went out and did what was necessary. And Jim Nill has done that without having to go through years of just poor teams. Were they mediocre? Yes. Were they ever drafting within the top three? No, besides the one 2017 year, but they didn't earn that necessarily through losing games. They got that through the Anaheim pick. So what Jim Nill has been able to do and turn around the Stars without having to go and tank to get a generational prospect, because to get players like Connor McDavid and McKinnon, you have to suck. And the Stars haven't sucked enough, even during some of those years. But it is remarkable. And even there's a lot of nights, even today, when I sit and it's a Tuesday night, I'm watching the game and they're at the AAC. I'm like, God, it is a huge crowd there tonight. It is, for a Tuesday night, it is huge. And it has been a great turnaround. Anyway, a little tangent about Jim Nill, and I think why the Stars organization does need a lot of credit. It also goes into him being a new father, and there's some great stuff about his change of perspective and how he doesn't foresee himself anymore. I'm sort of paraphrasing, but going back home, maybe if he had a tough game, and being sad, or I guess, or being down on himself, because he does have a new baby girl. And he said this quote, it says, "It's just a different thing. It's so special. It was the coolest day of my life by far." And then just the respect you have for women like my wife. I mean, she's such a sweetheart, a lot of empathy, a caring soul, seeing what she went through and then what she did for me in our life. It's incredible and pretty damn cool. So some good stuff there as well about becoming a new father. And then they go into Jamie Benn and his leadership. And Seguin talks about sort of the change that even Jamie has made from his first few years here in Dallas. And Jamie's always been sort of the quiet, go about his business sort of guy. And he credits some of his self sort of kind of maybe spilling over into Jamie becoming a bit more louder, I guess, so to speak, within the locker room. And then he also went into, playing on the PK, and there's some great stuff about how he loved, being in games and staying in games because he was killing penalties. I always mention this throughout the year. When you get in these big special teams games where it's like four, maybe a combined 6-7 power plays in a game, it can really mess up the rhythm of your lineup. And players like Seguin, let's say early in his career, wouldn't have gotten those opportunities on the PK. So you sit for maybe 4.5 minutes in a row because let's say there's a revolving door to the penalty box. And later on, of course, in his career, he's starting to kill penalties. And he said, I fell in love with it at the start because I always stayed in games. The hardest thing about a game is when you sit on the bench for a while and then take a few shifts to get back into it. And sometimes the game is over. And they also sort of had a conversation about special teams as well. And Tyler Seguin mentioned that you go into a playoff series and you have 6 or 7 games and you have a bad stretch, and that's all people talk about, including me, right? Hand up. We talked about was a big proponent of why Dallas didn't do well in that series against Edmonton. I think was a leading cause to why they didn't beat the Oilers in the Western Conference Final, and how he didn't think it was going to be much of a talking point, but it ended up being so. Because you can go 6 or 7 games within a season, a regular season, and no one really cares if you don't produce. Albeit the Stars power play did not get off to a hot start, and it has been a healthy amount of our conversation this year. So hopefully it won't be a talking point in the postseason, is what I said. I'm going to end with this because I don't want to spoil everything because it feels kind of cheap if I read through the whole article. But I'll end with this since Robert asked him about what makes this year's team special. And he said, and I quote, I feel like this year we have the biggest group of different individuals, different nationalities, places in their career, older guys, younger guys. We have these layers of groups. We have these kids, and then he said, we just have a little piece of everything. And, I don't disagree with them, right? Usually teams that hoist Stanley Cups have a little bit of everything. They have those veterans that have been around the block, experience in the postseason. Of course, you have some elite players, whether that's going to be Robertson, Miro Heiskanen, Thomas Harley, who's really starting to join that conversation. Got to have a good goaltender. Got to have some young guys that are pitching in, especially in today's NHL with the cap situation. You need your young guys to produce and be impactful parts of your lineup. And, the Stars have been constructed well, and they've sort of cracked a formula to winning consistently in the regular season over the last few years. Now it's about turning it into a Stanley Cup. Can you win during this window? And Tyler Seguin doesn't have a lot of time left in his career. And with the injuries he has sustained, who knows really how much longer he has to play the game at an elite level. And he's had a bit of a resurgence recently. 20 points in 19 games this season before he went down and had to have surgery. He had been a part of one of the best lines, and now he's watching. And we all hope he can be back and ready to rock and roll for the Stanley Cup playoffs and hopefully play a big part of bringing Dallas the Stanley Cup. He's been here through some of the lows and now some of the highs. One left thing to do is bring a cup back to Dallas. So anyways, great stuff by Robert Tiffin. Please go read it in its entirety. Fantastic read. It's on dmagazine.com. Go and find it there. So shout out to Tiffin. I'm going to have to reach out to him and get him on since, Gavin Spittle has him on a ton, and I would love to chat with him about this year's Stars team. So there we go. Let's get into the Four Nations face-off final tonight before we close this thing out, shall we? Team USA versus Team Canada. Highly anticipated, probably one of the highest anticipated games of my entire life upcoming tonight. We'll do that in just a moment. Well, Team USA is going to have some issues with illnesses and possible injuries. So we found out yesterday Charlie McAvoy had to actually be admitted into a hospital. There was an infection that he was dealing with the upper body injury. He was ruled out for tonight. There was also some news that Austin Matthews is feeling better, which is a good sign. So it looks like Matthews is going to be ready to rock and roll for Thursday. But there was something that just came out. Brett Pesce of the Devils and Tage Thompson are actually traveling to Boston as insurance tonight for possible injury replacements, or if Team USA loses some guys to injuries. The USA has to drop below the minimum amount required to fill a roster for those guys to get in. There was some rumors about Quinn Hughes possibly making the trip to join Team USA, but he was not medically cleared, so he is not going to Boston to help fill in. The Tkachuk brothers seem to be good to go. I believe one of the Tkachuks was at practice. One of the others, I think Brady was not at practice, but Matthew Tkachuk did practice. Of course, Brady Tkachuk had to leave the game earlier against Sweden. They said it was more precautionary, but there's a lot of moving pieces, to say the least, with Team USA. Looks like Team Canada is going to be good to go. Makar should be back. They're not going to have Shea Theodore, but Makar should be back, and they're going to be at full strength. We'll see how it all plays out as the day goes on. We're going to, of course, get more updates as today moves on. But man, it's going to be an absolute battle. It's going to be a battle. I don't know if it's going to live up to Saturday night, just because Saturday was sort of the buildup and anticipation of a decade, right, of not having best on best. Will the final live up to that? I don't know, but I'll be completely locked in and cannot wait to take in this final in Boston. It's just going to be magnificent, and it may not have the fireworks that we saw last Saturday, but it's going to be a clash of titans. And the U.S. won the battle. Can they win the war on Thursday? I feel like I am going to be on the edge of my seat the entire game, and hopefully the U.S. will come out on top. I am getting a bit more nervous as we get closer. I was discussing with Ryan the other day about how I was not nervous at all. I thought all these injuries are just not excuses, but the U.S. is being smart about what they're saying, that they're all going to be fine and ready to go on Thursday. I don't think that's going to be the case. There may be some game time decisions, but from what we've seen and heard, these guys are going to be playing through injuries. I think Austin Matthews, from what it sounds like, he's going to be good, and he'll be playing through whatever. This is sort of a game 7 in the middle of February, which is wild, but it's going to be an absolute blast. I got US hanging on here. I'm gonna rock with them. I think they can really give Canada fits and frustrate them. 2-1 is my final. United States gets it done. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. So enjoy the Four Nations face-off finale tonight. As we've said so many times, I think it's been a huge success. There probably needs to be some tweaks. Probably need to add some more teams. Injuries stink. They suck. They really do. But it's nice that we're getting something in the middle of the year to break up the All-Star game with the best players in the world caring about the product and buying in. So they're going to buy in tonight. It's going to be an absolute blast. So enjoy it tonight. And then before you know it, we'll be back on a Saturday night. The Stars taking on the New Jersey Devils to kick off a little road trip coming out of the post Four Nations break. By the way, I am working on, haven't had it necessarily confirmed yet by now, but should be having a special guest on Friday within the Devils organization. I don't want to throw the name out there quite yet, but she's an old friend of mine, and she's wonderful, and she's with New Jersey now and doing an excellent job. And hopefully her schedule and mine can align. We can chat a little bit and catch up and talk Devil Stars here on Saturday. So be on the lookout for that coming on a Friday. Thank you so much, as always, for the love and support on each and every episode. By the way, we thank you for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. For your second listen, be sure to check out the Locked On NHL podcast. They bring you all the daily league-wide stories, local coverage. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube wherever you listen to your podcast. Of course, they're doing a lot of Four Nations stuff, so be sure to check out them. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe here on today's episode. Hit the notification bell. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. Again, should be back to normal with my microphone, hopefully, and the audio will be back to what you're expecting per usual on an everyday basis. Have a great rest of your day, Stars fans, and we'll see you tomorrow. So long.